Imagine a totally normal morning. You wake up, grab your phone, and see a single news notification that instantly resets everything humanity thought it knew for the past 100,000 years. This isn't just another headline about some new fad diet or a political scandal. On every screen in the world, from the massive billboards in Times Square to cracked smartphones in the slums of Mumbai, one phrase is glowing. Death is no more, it's been proven. A group of scientists, maybe from CERN or some top-secret lab in the suburbs of Tokyo, just published data that nobody can debunk. They found a signal, a steady, verifiable stream of data coming straight from what we used to call nothingness. This isn't a dying brain hallucinating, and it's not some bright light at the end of a tunnel. It is mathematically precise, 100% proof that our consciousness keeps going after our heartbeats for the last time. And right in that moment, the world as we know it is gone. Because humanity's greatest mystery just became a regular scientific fact. But hey, before you start packing your bags for the afterlife, hold on a second. Let's think about what would actually happen to us in the first few hours and days after an announcement like this. At first glance, it feels like the ultimate gift. The fear of death, the main engine driving our civilization, just evaporates. No more of that icy feeling in your chest when you think about the inevitable end. Religions are claiming total victory. Atheists are frantically rethinking their entire worldview, and people are literally hugging in the streets. There's no need to fear old age or getting sick anymore. I mean, they're just minor inconveniences before the big move, right? You'd think the world would become a kinder, more peaceful place. But here's where things get really interesting. The initial high wears off, and reality punches us in the gut harder than anyone could have predicted. Picture an ordinary office worker who absolutely hates their job, or someone suffering from chronic pain. Before, the fear of the unknown kept them going. Now, that barrier is gone. If there's a guaranteed continuation waiting for us on the other side, and here it's nothing but mortgage payments and terrible traffic, what's the point of waiting? That's when the first reality check hits. Instead of universal happiness, the world plunges into the chaos of a great exodus. Why suffer through life when you can just hit the reset button right now? Lines at pharmacies and hardware stores stretch for miles. Governments all over the world declare states of emergency. But how do you stop a person who isn't even afraid of a firing squad anymore? The death penalty goes from being the ultimate punishment to a free upgrade to first class. Prisons empty out because inmates figure out how to check out right under the guards' noses. And guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now look at the city streets a week after the discovery. The global economy is completely falling apart. Why save for retirement if you know for a fact you won't need dollars or Bitcoin over there? Life insurance stocks turn into total garbage in a matter of minutes. People are quitting their jobs by the millions. Can you imagine an airline pilot or a surgeon deciding mid-shift that it's time to move on to a better place? Social ties are snapping left and right. Human morality, built over centuries on the idea of having one single life, is completely annihilated. A new, terrifying kind of ethics emerges. If death isn't the end, is murder still a crime? Or is it just forcing someone to take a vacation? Courts are swamped with cases where defendants honestly don't understand what they did wrong. Their defense? The victim is in a better place now, I just helped them get there. But there's one huge problem nobody thought about in all the excitement. What if scientists only proved that the other side exists, but didn't explain how it actually works? Imagine they caught the signal, but couldn't decode the quality of life after death. What if there are no pearly gates or fluffy clouds? What if it's just endless, gray, waiting in the void? Or even worse, what if the next world is already full? We're so used to thinking of heaven as having unlimited server space, But every system has its limits, and this is exactly where governments step in. Very quickly, those in power realize something. The afterlife is the most powerful tool for control in human history. Welcome to the era of digital spiritualism. Countries are pouring trillions into trying to establish a solid connection. Now, your behavior isn't just judged by the law, but by a social credit score that decides which sector of the other side you'll end up in. Imagine corporations selling premium packages for the afterlife. Want to wake up in a simulation of a tropical island? Pay up now, work for us your entire life, and we'll guarantee your connection. The line between religion, science, and marketing is completely erased. They don't just scare you with hell anymore. They show you its exact coordinates and then offer you a monthly subscription to stay out of it. And that brings us to the deepest and most terrifying layer. The psychological impact. You see, you are defined by your limits. We value moments precisely because they don't last. We love deeply because we know our loved ones aren't going to be here forever. We create masterpieces because we want to leave a mark on a world we're eventually going to leave. But what happens to the human mind when time becomes infinite? Imagine never being able to truly finish anything. A kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix starts piling up over decades, over centuries. You're not really human anymore. You're just a function doomed to exist forever. Emotions lose their edge. The thrill of a first kiss, the joy of winning, the crushing pain of loss. It all loses its value when you have a literal eternity ahead of you. People become shadows of their former selves, drowning in a level of existential boredom that we can't even begin to wrap our heads around. Societal pressure gets unbearable. If you decide to stay here, in this aging physical world, people will look at you like you're crazy, like you're a deserter. A massive divide forms between the living and the waiting. Families are torn apart. Parents leave for the other side, abandoning their kids, thinking they'll see each other soon. But in the grand scheme of eternity, what does soon even mean? The psychological price of knowing this turns out to be way too high. We lose the right to have an ending. We lose the right to mystery. Let's look a little further down the road. If this discovery becomes the new normal, we basically have three options. Option 1 is pretty bleak. Earth turns into a giant, run-down waiting room where people are just killing time before they cross over. Infrastructure crumbles, progress comes to a dead stop, and art is totally forgotten. We become a civilization of suicides. The second scenario is positive, but weird. We learn to exploit the resources of the other side. Maybe we figure out how to siphon energy from the afterlife or tap into its computing power. We evolve into an interdimensional race where dying is literally just upgrading your hardware. And the third, probably most realistic option, we just get used to it. We turn death into a mountain of paperwork. You'll have to get a permit to cross over, pay your processing fees, and clear all your tax debts. Death just becomes a commercial service, booked by appointment. But in this strange new reality, there's one massive, unresolved question that's going to haunt everyone. If scientists proved there's life after death, they also proved that our life on Earth is just a really short prologue. Now think about it. If you know for a fact you've got an infinite book waiting for you, are you really going to force yourself to read the boring, painful first page? Or are you just going to skip ahead without ever understanding the plot? Here's the crazy paradox of this whole thing. By finally getting the answer to the biggest question of life, we might actually lose life itself. We spent so long looking for proof that our souls are immortal, we completely forgot something important. Gold is valuable because it's rare, and life is valuable because it ends. Death isn't just the bad guy. It's the frame that turns a chaotic mess of events into a piece of art. Without that frame, the painting just turns into infinite wallpaper that you stop noticing after a week. And here's the kicker. Imagine that years after this incredible breakthrough, scientists find a second part to the signal. It turns out the other side isn't the finish line, it's just another level. And there's another one after that, on and on forever. We never actually get to rest in peace. We are doomed to eternal growth, eternal work, and eternal consequences for our actions. No break, no sweet oblivion, just an endless loop of I exist. So, are you ready for a discovery like that? Would you want to know the truth right now, knowing it could destroy everything you hold dear? Or is it better to just leave that door locked? To let every day matter? Precisely because it could be your last? Maybe the greatest mercy nature ever gave us is our ignorance. Because as long as we don't know what comes next, we don't have any choice but to live right here, right now. What do you guys think? If they published the proof tomorrow, would you be happy, or would you be genuinely terrified?